Okay, so this is the exact formula that we've used to blow up literally tens on tens on tens of creators that have come to us at View Movement to get their voice heard and ultimately get tons of views on social media. This is exactly what I use as well to get tons of views on my own social media clips, even though it was in a completely different niche. Some of it wasn't even talking head. Some of those got 50 plus million views. And I'm going to show you today how that was possible. So if we're just going to come over here really quickly and take a look at this. Now we've got this broken down as to exactly what makes a reel go viral. And then I'm going to show you how we make reels go viral at View Movement to kind of add to that. So number one, if you've never studied viral content before, making a high retention, high engagement reel can seem like a mystery, but in reality, it all comes down to one simple structure. A hook that introduces a payoff, an open loop, we like to call it, a body that keeps attention, and then a payoff that closes that same loop, okay? This is really important because we're going to come back to this later, and there's more to this, so remember, because at the end of this video, you're going to have this full structure, but don't forget that I had said this. This is the most important thing. This structure hacks human psychology by creating curiosity and tension and resolution, all things that our brains are literally hardwired to seek out. So let's break it down here step by step. Step number one is the hook, the opening loop. And you can't get this part wrong. Imagine you're watching a movie trailer, right? The first 5 seconds is a man running for his life. He's panicked. There's no explanation. There's no backstory. You're just thrown into it. What do you instinctively do? You keep watching. And why is that? Because your brain has a gap in information, a question that demands an answer. Why is he running? Why is this guy running on the screen, right? This is what great hooks do. It opens a loop that the audience needs to close. A strong hook does three things, okay? It grabs their attention immediately. No slow intros, jumps straight into something intriguing, shocking, or unexpected. It creates curiosity. It hints at a secret, some sort of missing knowledge or a powerful outcome that the viewer doesn't have yet. And then it promises a clear payoff. So in the hook, we're promising that payoff, okay? This is probably the single most important thing in terms of hooks is promising this payoff that you're going to pay off later in the video, which you're going to see. So examples of some strong hooks. Okay, here's some examples. You're probably making this huge mistake with money and it's keeping you broke. You can see how that introduces curiosity. It opens a loop and makes the brain go crazy. We've got to know what's going to be said in this reel. Secondly, most people don't realize they're blocking success every single day. Here's how. Another one. This is why rich people never chase money and why you shouldn't either. Very, very good hooks, right? Here's an example of what a bad hook would be. And it's anything that doesn't instantly create some sort of curiosity, okay? So here's an example of a bad one. So today I want to talk about success and mindset. This has zero urgency, zero curiosity, and people will literally scroll right past this, okay? Next is the body, and this is equally important as the other three parts. You have to get this part right as well. You're going to open another loop in this, and that's going to be able to entice the viewer to want to stay to the end of the videos where you can actually even get to the payoff that you introduced in the hook, okay? Now that you've opened a loop, your job is to hold attention long enough to deliver that payoff. This is where most people fail because they lose the viewer's attention by over-explaining, talking too slowly, or not making the journey interesting. So your job here is really simple. Just make it worth the wait, okay? A great body section should never pull the viewer deeper into the story. Keep them engaged with more curiosity or urgency. And really the rest of this kind of just goes over that exact same thing. And so I have one example that I had written here for you guys. I want to go over this. The hook would be you're making a huge mistake with money and it's keeping you broke. And we actually just talked about that hook just a little bit earlier up top. Now the body, okay, here's an example of how the body could aid to that, okay? Most people think making more money will fix their problems, but that's a lie. If you can't manage $1,000, you won't manage $100,000. That's why 70% of lottery winners go broke. But here's the kicker. So if you notice what's happening, you're pulling them deeper and deeper and deeper into this story, okay? And then, exactly, now people are thinking, wait, how do lottery winners go broke? What's the real problem? I'm keeping them engaged and just giving just enough information for them to need that final answer, okay? Lastly, probably the most important part is the payoff, okay? This is where you're going to close that loop. So if we go back up to this hook, we had introduced an open loop in the hook. And so now we're actually going to pay this off to reward those dopamine centers. And that's ultimately what's going to make people stay to click multiple times. That's what's going to make people watch the video all the way through. That's what's going to make people engage and interact and share the video. This right here, okay? So we got a reward. This is very important that you don't get this part wrong. Now it's time to deliver on your promise. And that's from the hook. Again, this is where you give the missing pieces that resolve the viewer's curiosity, that aha moment, if you will, that makes them feel like they gained something extremely valuable from watching your content. So a great payoff should directly answer the curiosity you created in the hook. So up here, again, you're probably making this huge mistake with money. So this huge mistake needs to be paid off now at the end of this reel. It should deliver something that makes the viewer feel smarter, motivated, or shocked. It should give a clear takeaway or an action step. Think of it like making a joke. The punchline doesn't match the setup. The same thing happens if your payoff doesn't answer the question you started with. It's nothing. It falls flat. And that's why you have to get this part right. It's very simple stuff, guys. Example of a strong payoff, okay, closing the loop, okay? So here we go. We just went over this. I'm not going to read it again, but here would be the payoff to that reel. It's not about how much money you make. It's about how you manage what you have. Rich people build wealth by controlling cash flow, not chasing more money. Start tracking every dollar and controlling your spending, and you'll stop living paycheck to paycheck even before you make money. So that was the payoff, right? This was the payoff right here. Start tracking every dollar and controlling your spending, and you'll stop living paycheck to paycheck. Now, this is just an example. There's many more examples of reels that are probably much greater, but this is just for inspiration's sake and just to show you how this is supposed to work. So you can see how that completes the loop. So think of this as a big loop, right? Everything's one big loop, and the viewer gets a clear answer to it, okay? So you can read the rest of this stuff. You can pause your screen here, and you can read this. But now I want to show you how we have actually made this possible for all of our clients at View Movement, because the reality is unless you're scripting these reels perfectly, there's no way that you can actually do this, right? Until now. And we've actually figured this out very, very specifically for our clients, and we've got something that works every single time. So here's how at View Movement we create viral reels from our clients' content. So the first thing that we do, okay, I want to let you guys know actually really quickly before we start this. This is why I wrote this at the top here. At View Movement, we specialize in turning raw content such as podcasts, talk shows, and reaction-based reels into high-retention viral short-form videos using a proven storytelling structure. But we don't just cut the clips and hope for the best. We actually engineer virality, okay, by applying a strategic hook body payoff framework when needed. So guys, we're taking that same exact framework from the this first tab over here that we had talked about, the hook body payoff, right? And we're actually finding a way that we can implement this into content that's already existing that wasn't recorded for the purpose of a reel. So it's very important for a lot of people that make content that just want reels to go viral. So, okay, step number one, what we do is our creative directors actually go and they craft the entire reel out of your content, right? And so finding the core payoff in the content is the first thing. So we actually start in the reverse order of what we had talked about over here, which is paying off the reel, right? So we want to identify what our creative directors do is they go identify the payoff in the actual reel. And so most raw content is controversial, okay? It's meandering or it lacks a clear hook to draw viewers in. And that's where we do a good job of actually crafting or creating these. So before we even edit anything, we start by asking, what is the most valuable insight in this clip? So that's what our creative directors do. They find the most interesting insight and that payoff before they even start. So for example, what is the most shocking or controversial or unexpected moment? If someone only had 60 seconds, what's the one thing they should walk away with? This is the payoff, okay? It's the knowledge bomb, the realization or the moment that will make someone feel smarter, inspired, or shocked by the time they finish watching. And we work backward from this point, okay, through that structure to structure the reel. Then what we do is we actually craft the hook. So I'm not going to go over that again because we actually went over that in the past one here, but this is very important because we do something different. So you guys know what the hook is, you know how to craft them. Or excuse me, you know what they are, but you don't know how to craft them. We know how to identify them in content, right? Maybe some people, or how to script them. But how do you make a reel go viral if there is no hook, right? And so that's what we figured out at View Movement, and it's been something that we've really developed, and it's taken some time to figure out. But here it is. So most podcasts or long form content do not naturally start with a hard hitting hook. Okay, that is why many content creators struggle to actually go viral. Viewers scroll before they even get to the good part of the reel. And that's a huge problem because you might actually have a lot of value in your reel or to get your mission out, you would need people to watch the entire reel. And that's where our AI voiceover hooks come in. So we've actually found a way. If the original content does not have a strong enough opening, we create one from scratch using AI generated voiceovers. Now, creative directors have seen hundreds and hundreds of reels, thousands at this point, thousands and thousands of reels. And so we know what a good hook looks like. And we can actually craft that to start at the beginning of the reel to actually keep it more engaging throughout. And we'll show you some examples of that. But our AI hooks introduce an information gap that creates that curiosity, right? So we actually craft that hook that opens up that loop or that payoff or the need for the payoff, okay? So for example, instead of relying on the first word for the speaker, it says in the raw footage, we inject a custom crafted attention grabbing intro that hooks viewers instantly, okay? Here's an example. The raw podcast clip might say something like, the guest says, yeah, I mean, it is all about discipline at the end of the day, and if you do not have that, you won't be successful. So this isn't going to stop anyone from scrolling. It's very generic. Now we've seen these reels, and they typically don't have any engagement, and people just scroll right on by them. Okay, so how we would do this with an AI generated hook would be we would craft the hooks to say most people will never be successful, and it's because this one reason. Right? You can see how that's much more curiosity evoking than this. So we actually craft those to place at the beginning of the reel once we've identified the payoff in the content. And that just makes these things pop off and go viral literally almost every single time. And it just becomes a game of just swinging the bat at that point because we figured it out. Okay, so now the viewer's locked in because they want an answer. The moment AI hook ends, we seamlessly transition into the speaker's original words, making it feel natural and engaging from the start. So it's exactly what we had talked about before. We want it to feel natural, okay? We want it to feel like that's your voice. So that's exactly what we do, okay? So obviously then from there, we're going to build that body that holds attention, and then we're going to deliver the payoff, okay? And then we obviously optimize for retention because the reel needs to be structured properly, and we enhance it visually to maximize engagement. That's where our world-class editors actually come in, because without the editors, this still is nothing. And that's the thing with all this stuff is no one person can do this stuff completely alone. You have to have an entire team of people behind you, backing you, because one person can do the creative direction, and then another person specializes in literally keeping the viewers so engaged just with the assets that are on screen that's equally important. It's got to all be there. The whole piece of the puzzle has to be there, but arguably creative direction is the most important for sure. So here's why this works so well, guys. We're almost done with this. Most people think viral reels happen by accident, and they don't. They are engineered using psychological triggers that keep people watching the content, okay? The hook grabs the attention, the body keeps the curiosity alive, and the payoff delivers value that makes people feel like they gained something, okay? At View Movement, we do not wait for good hooks to appear naturally. We literally create them with AI and strategic storytelling, okay? That's why our clients come to us, and that's why our reels perform at the highest level. And we're able to just take raw content and turn it into reels that perform. And so most creators actually struggle with engagement because they assume their content speaks for itself. But without a structured approach, even the best insights are not going to reach a large audience. And yeah, blah, 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 right? Really, the sauce, guys, is in the hook, body, payoff structure. And so that's how we actually do this for our clients. Hook, body, payoff, identifying that stuff. It's really good stuff. Anyone can actually do this stuff. It just takes a really good team put together to actually be able to get these things to go viral, because all the pieces have to be in place, and there's a really symbiotic relationship that happens between the creative direction, the editing, the quality control, and then ultimately getting these things posted at the right time with the right captions. And that's how we do it. And that is how we do this at View Movement. So we have edited over 5,000 short form videos at View Movement. And this is the exact structure that we've used to get many reels to pop off and go completely viral for our clients. It works every single time. And I'm going to break it down step by step for you, how this stuff actually works so that you can do it too, or build your own team that can actually do this for you.